Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Hedgebrook's Cottage Chat. I have the honor of hosting these joyous conversations and amplifying the brilliant minds of our ever growing alumni community. Thank you all so much for joining me this month as we talk about the journey to the silver screen with two of our phenomenal screenwriting alumni, Jane Barr and Sonja Perryman. We're going to talk about that, but we're also just going to talk about some joy. We're going to bring some delight into our days together today. Jane is a first generation African American whose family immigrated from Ghana. Jane's screenplay, 12 Days, was a second rounder at both Sundance 2017 and the Academy Nichol Fellowship 2017. Her feature screenplay, Colony 1, Colony I, it's Roman numeral 1, Colony 1, thank you, was a second rounder at Sundance 2018 and 2020. Jane was chosen as a fellow for the Hedgebrook Screenwriting Lab in 2019, where she met Sonja, and the Athena Virtual Screenwriting Lab 2020. Her feature script, African Dogs Don't Choke, was a finalist for the Shore Scripts Feature Contest 2020, and her TV pilot, An American Tale, was the grand prize winner of the Blue Cat Screenwriting Contest in 2020. What you're seeing is 2020 was a year that Jane Barr did some things, all right? Jane was chosen as Essence Women in Film Pathmaker 2021, and she was recently chosen as one of the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation / Athena Film Festival 2022 Women in Science Development Fund winners. Wow. Okay. I read this and I was like, I'm keeping all of this in because what you're seeing is a progression of the breakthrough, and that is incredibly hard to do. And we're going to talk a little bit about that too. Jane is currently developing a feature with Lionsgate and a documentary with One Story Up Productions. I'm actually going to pause here because one of the things I learned working with some more screenwriters here at Hedgebrook is that these things are years in the making, and there's a patience and a bearing with it and believing in it that has to occur. So all these things starting to kind of tick up and begin to happen for Jane was the culmination of so many years of work. And we know this, but do we know this? So we're going to talk about that too. I would definitely want to ask about that because screenwriters have way more patience than poets. Let me just name that. I would not. Not for a poem. Are you kidding? Okay, so Sonja, also an award winning screenwriter, producer, and facilitator with a passion for telling diverse, female centered stories with heart and humor. She was born in California but was raised right south of Atlanta, Hotlanta, Georgia. Sonja was one of 5 women selected to participate in Hedgebrook's 2019 Screenwriters Lab, where she developed her first feature film, The 84, a coming of age drama set in 1968 South Los Angeles. That script won grand prize in the 2021 We Screenplay Feature Competition, grand prize in Nantucket Film Festival's Tony Cox Screenplay Competition, grand prize in the 2021 Screencraft Drama Competition, and best screenplay at Urban World Film Festival in 2021. You seeing a trend here? You seeing why these people are here? They are amazing. It also ranks among the top 1% of all projects on Coverfly. Listen, if you're going to be in the 1%, that's the 1%. She is currently co-writing a 1-hour drama in development at Entertainment One and has a half-hour dramedy in development with Wise Entertainment and Gabrielle Union's production company, I'll Have Another. I am Amber Flame, your faithful host, the program director here at Hedgebrook. I'm like, who am I? I don't even know. Does it matter? My name is Amber Flame. I am the program director for Hedgebrook, as well as an alumna of their Writers in Residence program. I'm so thrilled to be your host for this conversation, which is streaming live Thursday, August 18th, 2022. Welcome, Sonja and Jane. What? I had to tell
Hey.
you, I kept the awards in because what it shows so clearly was how all of a sudden things happen, and it feels so all of a sudden from the outside, but that is not the experience from the inside. And just the little bit I know, I was like, the patience required to bring these things to fruition, to even recognition, to even other eyes is so long. You got to have deep pockets of patience. So let's start there. Let's talk about your patience. Tell us what you've waited for.
Girl, Sonja, you want to take this first?
Jane, no, you got it. You go for it.
Listen, to get to the point where we got admitted to Hedgebrook, for me was 5 years. And I had applied once before, and hadn't gotten in. And, you have these feelings. I actually emailed Hedgebrook the year I got in, to be like, are y'all still doing this? And then like a few days later, they sent me a link to apply. And I was like, they're not gonna let me in. But I sent it. And that's one of the first things that I tell to any writers out there: take a chance. Take a chance on your work. When we got to Hedgebrook, both Robin and Jane told us that we were chosen because we were right there. They could see that we were right at the cusp of doing it. But we needed the tools to move forward. Beautiful. And that was such a beautiful thing to hear, like, oh, okay, great. Like all my work has actually pulled off. Like, I cannot believe that they let me in on this script, because I struggled with it. And I will go ahead and say, out of all the girls that got in, 5 of us that year, Sonja is the only one that finished her script and became an award winner for it.
What? Yes, you better boost.
There, girl, you did.
I received that.
That's right.
I received it. Thank you, Jane.
I love that. Wow. Did you believe them though when they said that you were right on the cusp? Did you believe that this was what was coming?
I wanted to, and I tell you, like, I left Hedgebrook, and a few months later, I won Blue Cat, and I applied to Blue Cat before Hedgebrook, but without Hedgebrook, I would not have been ready for anything that came after getting a manager. It has been so hard. There's so much that they don't tell you in film school about the realities of this job when you're writing features. And it has been a learning curve. I've gotten a therapist.
Step one.
I've done a lot of crying. I've had to readjust several notions of what I thought my life would be doing this job in these first 2 years of doing it. So that's a lot of what I'd like to talk about today, is like just the realities of writing features, what you need to prepare yourself for if you're going to do this job, and do it in a way that is nurturing to your soul and sustainable for your life.
Wow. Okay. So what I hear is we're going to school today. We're going to learn about something. Okay. Okay. Before we jump in, because I did want to circle back to like, what do you wish you had known before? What are the things that they don't tell you? So, but Sonja, let's circle back a little bit. Let's back up a little bit, because Jane Barr laid a blessing and an affirmation on your life. Talk about this script. Come on.
Okay, I receive it. Thank you, Jane. And also thank you, Amber Flame, for those intros. You have me cheesing. I was like,
yes.
Can I take you with me, like, everywhere?
Hype.
I was like,
hype.
Really?
That would be me.
Forgetting.
Give me a big old clock. Give me a big old clock. I will hype it.
I love it. I love it so much. Well, I have to say, I got to give huge props and name some names. My mom's an alum of Hedgebrook. My stepmom is a Hedgebrook alum, and so is a dear friend who's like my auntie.
Wow.
Okay, so note to self, Jen, I know you're listening. We're circling back to that, because that's going to be a generational conversation we're going to need to have. Okay, so
right.
Wow.
But the huge part of it.
Right.
Go ahead, James.
And I was in your mama's cottage.
He was in my mama's cottage.
And
Wow.
found her notebook entry that
Beautiful.
year as
He
well.
found,
Beautiful.
and the deepest part of all is I actually grew up running from writing. I was an actress first, and I was like, I'm not a writer. Like my mama does that. I don't write. No. And then I completely left anything to do with the arts and got into public health.
Right.
That's a whole other conversation and story, but it's the typical story of like, you can't run from who you are forever and be happy at least. So I had to come and be like, oh, I am a storyteller. I just enjoy writing. Like that's what I want to do. And I have to own that and embrace that part of myself, you know? And the huge, I won't even call it a coincidence. It was deeper than that, is the 84 is about my mother and her journey growing up in South Central LA. So the full like coming circle, and my grandma. And it's also in honor of my ancestors. You know, I'm a product of the Great Migration. My folks are from the South and ended up in California, you know, searching for a better life. And it was not all that it was cracked up to be, even here in California for Black folks in the 50s and 60s, even now. But they were brave, and it's an honor of them. And in particular, my mom and my grandma, who paved the way for me to be here. And so to write that, so first of all, to get into Hedgebrook, and I still was like, am I a writer? And I don't know. And to get in, like Jane said, and to be like, no, you have something. It needs to be honed, but there's something there. Was like, oh my God, okay, I can do this maybe. It gave me, like Jane was saying, a boost in a way that I don't think I would have. I know actually I wouldn't have gone for these fellowships and these other things that have happened since, were it not for Hedgebrook, for sure.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, it was a life-changing experience.
Life-changing.
Yeah, I'm already thinking, okay, so the screenwriting lab was something very special. It's not something that is currently on the plate anymore. And I'm hearing after the screenwriter showcase and now you two, I'm like, we gotta think about this because it did something.
It is beyond that. I kept in contact with both Robin and Jane.
That's what so many of them shared. That these were true mentors.
And Jane especially she is a total mentor. She is the most lovely person. She is so patient. She has helped me tremendously. Just being there and answering those questions, and then you feel like, oh, you got to pay that forward. So if anybody asks me to read their script, if anybody asks me to take that time out, I feel like karma's gonna get you, girl. You know, if Jane has the time for you, then you have the time for all of the people. And I'm trying my best to keep all of that up and to encourage everybody and to give everybody advice as best as I can about what's coming for them and the best way to conserve themselves as they go into this.
Exactly. And I'll also offer a huge blessing of that screenwriters lab that Jane and I did. And shout out to everybody else out there, all the other folks who have done it too. Like in screenwriting, it's ironic. The writers often overlooked in the feature space. All the attention and resources are normally given to directors, which is cool. Obviously, they play a huge part. But to like as a writer and to be given resources and space and to be seen in this industry where it's like we're often an afterthought is huge. And that's why I'm like, yes, please bring it back because it's so important.
It really is, particularly for us. And, you know, all of the girls who went through that writer's room are working and doing well. They're all doing well. But I think that me and Sonja were like, oh, we are not going to let this pass us by. We're not going to let this pass by and not make something of this. And I promised Robin when I left there, I was like, oh, no. She said that the last one she did, the girls in that group didn't really seem to continue. with writing after that. And I will say, we all did some crying in the woods.
That is the anthology of Hedgebrook, I swear, is Women Who Cry in the Woods.
Yeah,
That's the anthology name right there. Part 1, part 2, part 35, Women Who Cry in the Woods.
If all those girls cried in the woods and they weren't kind of able to move forward, I understand that. But we all did. We all did. And there were some kind of like crazy when they like evaluated all of our scripts. But every single one of us is still working, still doing well. And I promised Robin when I left, I am going to make you proud for what you have taught us here. And wonderful. I feel like I've lived up to it. And she's been amazing as well. She's helped me so much since I left. And, you know, she is very busy, but she, you know, both of them have just been amazing.
That's awesome to hear. So what were some of the things that you needed to learn?
Wow. In the lab, I mean, I feel like the most important thing is that they kind of taught us the structure of movies. Yeah. You know, like that every single movie has these things in common. And the way to make sure that your movie has all the elements that it needs to be successful, these elements need to be in your script. And that changed everything, I think, for all of us. Absolutely. Because when you start analyzing movies and you're like, yep.
Right.
It's like, it's like it opens up a completely new world to you when you get that.
Absolutely. Just to back that up 100%. You know, it's a formula in a way. And you start off being like, I'm gonna break that formula. I ain't gonna do no formula. But it's like, no, it works for a reason. And even if eventually you veer from that, starting off, it almost takes a mathematical brain to just analyze it that way. And you can buy all the books you want. I didn't go to film school. I went to theater school, which has helped, you know, in terms of like thinking about character and stuff and motivations. Right. But like that, what Jane is saying, the structure is crucial. And they really taught us that. I say to everyone, it was my version of film school in like 10 days. I still refer to those notes from our sessions.
I did not learn that in film school. I learned
wow.
I went through film school, and I will say I went for producing, not writing. The last two classes I took were writing classes, and that professor told me to be a writer. And I was like, I'm graduating.
Are you sure?
But I knew I liked it better. And so I just went for it. But in those classes, it wasn't about that at all. Wow. I'm not really sure what they do teach in the writing program. But without those fundamentals honestly, I wrote a great script without their help. That one blue cat, but without that structure, there's no way I would be a feature writer right now. I mean, there is no way. There's no way.
It's key.
Fundamental to my education as a writer.
It's key. And I will say the one other thing I remember, my brain, so learning the structure, like that's great, but I'm not good. I'll just say that's not my strength. I sucked at math, you know, growing up. And so I was just like, this is great, but like, how do I make this work in my brain? You know, that's where the wall was always for me. And they encouraged me. They were like, take this and make it your own. Start with whatever your strength is and, you know, make this process your own, translate it so it works for you. And another thing I just remember, I think it might've been Jane who was like, write what turns you on. Like we're giving you this like structure that most films follow, but make it your own and use it in a way that's juicy for you. So you're writing what turns you on. And that was the key. I was like, I figured out a way to translate this formula in a way that was exciting for me and sparked and made it work in my crazy brain. So, yeah.
Wow. So any screenwriters out there, just by the way, I have to put a plug. Meg LaFave, who's another phenomenal screenwriter, is doing an RCR here on the land in person at the end of this year. So look for that, because if you want to learn these formulas, this is the kind of thing that like it makes me think back to what you were saying, Jane, about you're paying it forward, which I was like, that's the radical generosity. That's the ethos, right? Hedgebrook wants to provide radical hospitality, maybe for the first time that you experience it, to foster the sense of like, and how do I be generous like this with others? And I love that you experience that gift, and now you're dedicated to giving that gift forward. Um, Oh, there's Jen's on the ones and twos with that link for you if you're interested in that radical craft retreat. It's definitely worth it. I think of how generous each one of our instructors, our mentors have come to be, because I came in 2020, and that is the main thing I heard back from everyone was like, I learned so much from, or I heard so much from. And we're doing this writers conference for the first time, and it's a radical craft retreat, Lisa, just so you know. And the link is in the comments right above you. It should be, if you want to learn more about it. But the the way that the giving of the gift has been the foundation of everything we built during COVID time. Like all the virtual programs was like, how do we create platforms for our alum to share what they know, what they've learned. And Mira Jacobs did a workshop with us last year, and she was like, her biggest advice was like, talk to other writers, ask them questions, do not be afraid to ask questions. And then she said, ask me anything, tell me, anything you want, because I'm here to answer your questions. And that's a gift that not you don't get everywhere, like that generosity. And so thank you for beginning to share. And I want to turn it to you, Jane, because you were like, I want to talk about the path and the work it takes. So let's back up. What does it take?
Man.
You had a deep breath on that one.
I would say the first thing, I had this idea, if you are writing features, that is kind of a solitary job. That you're just kind of like, got this idea and you sell it and then you get to write it and then that's it. Like that, go.
Not like that.
But no. No. Oh my gosh, it is a really hard job. It's a really hard job, and I would still be doing it, but I wish that I had been prepared for all the things that come with it. The first thing I would say is, if you are not good at speaking publicly, speaking to groups, you should take a public speaking class if you want to be a screenwriter. And I don't think that many people would think that, but one of your main jobs as a screenwriter, 60% of your job is pitching. It's pitching. 40% of your job is writing and dealing with notes from executives, but 60% of your job is unpaid work. Unpaid work. And I really want y'all out here, if you're out here trying to do it, hear that, because I mean that. Unpaid work. I did a pitch for a company, a big company, a company that everybody has in their house. I'll leave it at that. And they made me do 4 pitches over a 4-month span. The end of that 4 months, they asked for the written version of my pitch. And then they said, we're going to go with another writer. Now, when that movie comes out, I expect to see plenty of my ideas in that movie. Okay?
Wow.
I mean, that is just the reality of the situation. Now, we will see. But that is the reality of the situation. I didn't get paid for that 4 months. I didn't get paid for any of those ideas that they might use. That is the reality of the situation. Over and over and over again, I can tell you stories of this happening to me over the past 2 years. I've done tons of pitches. I haven't sold a whole bunch of them. I've sold some of them. But you're doing a lot of unpaid work. Those pitches are 10 pages long, 20 minutes long. I have to do those things multiple times. That takes time for you to write it. It takes time for you to practice it. It takes time for you to get notes on that. It takes time for you to pitch it. And sometimes you have to pitch those things to one company. Sometimes you have to pitch what you're doing to multiple companies, depending on whether or not it is something that they are asking you to write or whether it is an original piece of work. It's a lot of work.
A lot of labor.
Right? And if you don't sell it, that's just all your time and no cash in your pocket. If you have a job and you get a manager, do not quit your job. Do not quit your job. Don't think that it's, I honestly, now that I'm 2 years in, I would say for 5 years. For 5 years, I would think to yourself, can you do your job that you currently do and write at the same time? If the answer is no, then you might want to rethink your job. I am been very lucky. I have a husband who has a good job. He can support the base things, our rent and food, right? So I don't have to worry about that. And that is the key to the reason I'm able to do this job. Not only is it a bunch of unpaid work, when you do get paid, they pay you in increments.
Yeah.
You get paid for initiating it. You get paid for turning in your treatment. You get paid for turning in your first draft. You get paid for turning in a polish of that draft. Those payments are supposed to happen at a particular time, according to your contract. They don't. One of my payments was 8 weeks late. Can you wait 8 weeks for your money? Right? You know what I'm saying? Like you have to be amazing at budgeting. Especially if you are on your own, you probably need somebody to lean on, somebody who's got your back, or else you got to have a good job that can hold you down, and you have to figure out what time of your day you can devote to this. I mean, it is not what you think it's gonna be. Even if it's a lot of money, the way that you're getting it makes it so that it doesn't matter. You're like, oh my God, like I am dead. I need my money. Like, oh my God, what do I have to do? Like it is a really intense. It's a really, really intense job. And then on top of all of that, which is going on in the background, you're actually dealing with your script. You have to deal with notes, which are a whole thing. You know, when you're pitching, you could be pitching to 2 people, you could be pitching to 9. You don't really know. As I got more intense in the Lionsgate project, it went from 2 to 3 to 8. You know what I'm saying? like oh my God. like that is intense, and it's 3 different companies all at the same time. You just have no idea what you're going to be involved in, and you just have to be ready for it, period. And that's a lot of it. I read a book one weekend and told them, yeah, I think I could turn this into a movie.
Oh no, I'm already clinching.
3, and by 5 o'clock, I had a meeting with a major star, her producer, and all the people that run my management company. We had, for a Saturday, whatever plans you had on Saturday, canceled. You're doing this meeting, and then you have to pitch to the author of that book on Monday. You ready?
Wow.
I just had to be. And then after I did that, I had to pitch to Paramount. What? all at the same time, and then we lost anyway. All that work, and Netflix bought it anyway. So I'm telling you, like, you have to be prepared for some heavy stuff. You have to be ready, and just on it. And And I would say, like, the last thing I would say is, if you can't make the people who you're pitching to excited about your work,
Mm.
you're not going to sell it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, if you can't make your friends excited about what you're pitching,
Right.
probably not going to be able to make these people who want to give you millions of dollars, you know what I'm saying? Who want to put in millions of dollars to make this movie,
Right.
excited about your work. Like, these people, it is sad to say, but your personality is a big part of the job. It really is.
Wow.
These people want to know that it's going to be pleasant to work with you, right? That you're not going to make it hell for them. And if you have masterclass, there's this this talk by this woman named S. Devlin, and she is a stage designer. And for some reason, I just watched it, and she said something I thought was so profound that it is very applicable to screenwriting. She was like, I'm a stage designer, and it is like a solitary job in some way, but I have a lot of collaborators, not just the people that work with me, but the people who came to me to make their stage, right? And through your work, you have to make all of those people feel fulfilled in their job as well. And I thought, that's it. That's the key to doing this job and doing it well, is remembering that all of those executives that are giving you notes got into film because they love film. Their job is not that creative. So the only time will they get to be creative is when they're working with you.
Yeah.
And
And just to jump in, sorry, but they want to be heard. They want to feel like you just hear them, even if you don't take all their notes, but just like, I thought about it. That was a great idea. But you have to know how to finagle too. That's a whole other conversation. But
compliment
James,
sandwich.
Oh, girl.
Yes.
No
Notes
trouble.
process. Yep.
Wow.
It's
Oh
a
my
whole
God.
thing. A lot of politics.
So you're talking about the business side of it, and Sonja, I definitely want. Yes, jump in. What are some other things like that you need to know about this business?
Ooh, I mean, Jane brought up so many great
Right.
things and great points. I've been working since Hedgebrook primarily in the TV space,
Yes, talk
which
about it.
is different. I feel like in a good way. I love, like, I've only written my one feature, the 84, and it's been awesome. It hasn't been made, hopefully knock on wood one day, but I've been getting more work in TV. I'm actually in a room right now for a new show that'll be on Amazon, and which has been great. And it's a different beast. And I would say it is more, they call TV more of like the writer's medium, because you do have more control and power at the end of the day than in the feature film space. But I feel like Jane's points are still so applicable even to TV, because, like, okay, the project I'm on now, I'm a staff writer on this drama show. Most of it, we're in a room collaborating. It's like 9 of us writers, and most of it is talking and collaborating. It leans on so much more of your personality, your ability to clearly pitch your ideas, than like other writing mediums like poetry or whatever, where it's like you can be more internal. Like in like a writer's room, like for folks who are interested in TV, it is so much time spent with other writers, collaborating, coming up with ideas, and pitching them on the fly. And how do I say this idea that I have for this episode succinctly and communicate it to the other writers in the room, on top of just your actual writing when you're assigned a script, on top of, like, especially once you get to a certain level, producing. Like you have in TV, which is awesome. It kind of gives you more power and freedom. You're also a producer. So you're helping to make choices around casting, around all kinds of stuff. And it's so cool. But like, even on this show, I'm learning so much. And every day I'm just like, oh my gosh, right. And like Jane said, it's a lot at once too. Like, oh yeah, you're on script right now, but also you need to be in the room pitching right now. And then you need to give some feedback on this casting stuff. It's like you have to be a jack of all trades. And And like Jane's saying, a lot of it is your personality, your ability to work well with others, your ability to be able to pitch and be a good communicator. It's way more than just the writing.
I'm exhausted.
Yes.
Wow. So what you're telling me is the business of screenwriting is the ultimate group project. So if you like group projects,
listen,
I'm of the like
tears that if I've cried. Okay, I am not a group project person. I specifically chose feature writing so that I would be a solitary beast over here in my house, and that 40% is so glorious. Let me tell you something. You sit down and you're like, yeah, I get to write my script. It feels good, but girl, once you start getting them notes, oh my God.
Yes.
It is excruciating. And I will say, what I write about is the Black experience.
Mm.
The first project that I sold was for the 1619 project.
Wow,
so we're talking about slavery, right? So I'm choosing to write about some pretty hardcore stuff. And so part of the agony of going back into the script each time I get notes, knowing what I'm going back into, right? Everybody is going to be writing the same type of material. So like take that with a grain of salt. But if that is what you are looking to do, write about serious material. That's one thing that you really need to think about is what toll it takes on you.
Emotional toll, yeah.
And I don't think that I told Sonja, like I explained to her what my script was about, and she was like, I don't think I could do it. I really don't think so. And I was like, wow, I sold it, Sonja.
I gotta do it. I said,
but let me tell you, it has taken such a toll on me. It's taken such a toll on me to write this script. It hurts. It hurts to do that kind of research. And to create this person, which, no matter what you do, your characters are essentially you. And so you're putting yourself through this story every time, and having to feel each emotion to make sure that it's still working the way that you want it to. And it's rough.
But Jane, you're hitting on something I think is key too about screenwriting. I feel like writers in other mediums go through this, but maybe not to the extent of screenwriting, is the notes process and the way your work constantly gets critiqued. And it's part of the job. Like and it's particularly painful in your instance because it's like the subject matter, having to revisit that through every notes process. But like what you're saying really resonates with me, because no matter what you're writing about, if you're like, I think for most of us, a piece of you is in it, right? Like a piece of your DNA is up in that. So to have folks who don't even personally know you telling you about your story and how they think your characters could work better and how stuff could work better through every iteration of it along the way. And their job is to pick your shit apart. When I tell you the amount of thick skin you have to grow, it is thick. It's and again, like James was saying earlier, nothing can prepare you for it until you're up in it.
You just have to deal with it.
You just have to figure it out and how to deal with it in a healthy way to process. I go for walks every day. I'm like, they're like, you good, girl? And I'm like, this is my process. I gotta use this energy.
Yes, it is so intense. And I'll say the one thing that changed everything for me with notes was a quote by Neil Gaiman.
Oh, come on.
Said, if someone tells you that there's something wrong with your script, they're always right. But if they tell you how to fix it, they're almost always wrong. Only you can figure out how to fix your script. And let me tell you, how that changed my life. During this Lionsgate process, they essentially told me you're a freak. She didn't, I don't think that she used those words, but that's essentially what she said. She's kind of like, you're really weird. You're an unusual writer because we give you notes and we give you suggestions and you never use them. I always give them what they ask for, but not in the way they suggest that I do it, because how could you know what I want? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In this script. And I think that a big part of the reason why they feel that way is because when I write, like, sure, I'm writing for money, but the scripts are for me. They're for me.
Mm.
And I think that's very important. If you are getting into film for accolades from other people, you're gonna hurt yourself. Oh man, are you gonna hurt yourself? Because the notes process, every part of this, feels so personal. It really does. It just feels so personal when you're doing it and you take it so personally. So if you are writing for the people that are paying you, they're gonna lead you down some roads.
Yeah.
Because they don't really know what it is that you do. That's the thing that you have to keep in mind. The people that are giving you notes are giving you suggestions based on the feeling that the scene is giving them. So you have to kind of look at their note and interpret that. Right? You have to interpret what you think they meant by what the suggestion that they gave you, and then figure out what the real emotion is. What's the emotion in this note? This is the emotion they want. How would I do that?
Right.
And I think that that's one of the things that really messes people up in the notes process, is they feel like they need to do what the executives tell them, but you really never should. Like, almost never. Their intentions are correct. All of the notes that they've given me are helpful. As much as I have to take a week to be angry about it, like, how dare you? And then I read it on a Monday and I'm like, oh God. Okay. I guess they're right. I can see that. God. And then you just kind of have to go through and read the notes as you're reading the script, think about the emotion, and then just sit there and think about what you could add already that is true to your characters and true to your script, that fulfills that emotion. That has made a world of difference in dealing with that process and making sure that the script at the end is still what I want it to be.
Exactly, because if not, you'll end up with a Frankenstein.
Yes.
If you take everything that they say and apply it literally, it's just a mess, and it's no longer your voice, your vision, your characters, and it's all these different people's opinions, and you're left with, what is this nasty ass soup?
Right. And then you'll do what they tell you to do, and they'll be like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
And you're like, but that's what you
But I did it for you.
Yeah, I did what you asked me to do. But what you're saying is so true. I learned, like, a mentor told me that, find the note under the note, because there is some truth there, and figure out. It's kind of like what I was saying earlier, figuring out Robin and Jane's formula, translate it for yourself.
Right.
How can it work for you and your vision and your voice?
Wow.
It's the key.
Y'all both spend so much time. It's clear screenwriters just generally spend so much time in the after the story part of it, the editing essentially journey of it. But can you tell me, I'm so curious, what does it look like? Where does it, you tell the stories for you said, Jane, and I love that. So what are the stories that you need to tell that are driving you into like the business? I see that this is your job, right? And the job has your passion in it and has your creativity in it. But what about before you're even thinking, how do I pitch this? How do I get this onto the screen? Where do your stories bubble from for you? I think it's, I don't know if it's different for everybody, but I would imagine
I think
There's a
so.
calling. I feel like I'm
It's
called.
different for everything. For everybody. I think when my professor told me you should do this instead, I felt like, you know what? Let me sit down and think about that, because there are quite a few things that I've never seen, right? There's
Right.
a quite a few movies and experiences that I've had that I have never seen depicted, right? And I felt like I have my background is in political science and African American studies. My dad is a PhD in African American studies and no African American studies in political science, and so I had to do that. But
Lineage.
that
We're gonna
African
get back to
American
that, Sonja.
studies, I asked him like if I could just drop political science and become an African American studies major, and he was like, no. And so I became a double major because you ain't gonna tell me I can't do nothing. And so.
Hey.
But that African American studies is the reason why I can do the job that I'm doing today. That background, that foundation that I got at UT, continued for 18 years. I've just been gathering information just because it's interesting to me in general. There's so much history that I didn't know about us. And I was really angry when I got to UT. And, the woman who was a professor at UT that taught us everything was the first African-American woman to get a PhD from Duke. So she was this amazing professor, and I took every class that she taught at UT. So then by then I'm just like, oh, I'm in it. And just been gathering. And so when this opportunity for 1619 comes up, I find out that all these people have pitched, and nobody has gotten through because they're not in that space the way that she is. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're stepping to Nicole Hannah Jones. Are you serious? Like, I'm just like, oh man, I did so much research on her before I met her to understand who I was dealing with, and it seems like a lot of people don't take the time to do things like that. And that's research is so important to my job, and to your job as a screenwriter in general. Doing your upfront work when you're general meetings and when you're meeting with any company is really important. Knowing your homework. It impresses people and makes them be more confident in you. And that's all people want, is to feel confident in you. And when I finished pitching that 1619 project film to her, she was like, I didn't think I was going to like it, but I can see the rage in you. And I appreciate it. And I was like, yeah, that fire to tell our stories, to make sure that the ideation and the skewed perception that America has of itself starts to dismantle in some way. That we begin to understand that this country is ours more than anybody else. Nobody has shed more blood. Nobody has fought more wars. Nobody has been in the game for America longer than Black people. Come on. And I feel like we need to take claim of that, and one of the best ways to do that is through art, to move people in their hearts. You know what I'm saying? To make you go on a journey with somebody and feel that empathy for them in a way that you can't seem to find for us. You know what I'm saying? That is my goal with pretty much everything that I'm writing, is to move the audience to think about the world that we live in a different way, to figure out where you would be in this story that I'm telling.
Wow.
And think about whether or not you're fine with that. You know what I'm saying? Or,
ask yourself a question. Yes. Wow, I love this. So this is your drive is this is your piece of activism. This is your changing the world. And you came at it to be like, you came at writing to be a screenwriter. And I think that's like, so Sonja, I really want to hear from you.
Yeah.
Like, you ran from being a writer
Mhm.
and didn't come at writing, it sounds like, from screenwriting. So talk about it. Talk on it.
Well, I did. I always wrote like journal entries and shit and short stories. But I did, when I finally was like, I'm going to do this, it was screenwriting. It was a TV
Okay.
show, like a pilot that I wrote. So I kind of knew that that was the form when I started taking writing more seriously and not running, that I wanted to go after, to try my hand at. But I would say for me, what sparked me since day one was similar to Jane, centering particularly Black women in my work. The whole impetus again for the feature I wrote that got me into Hedgebrook was celebrating my ancestors. And through the lens of, yeah, we go through a lot of fucked up things that this country has put us through, but yet we still find so much beauty and joy in life and ways to laugh and celebrate. We are miracles.
Really?
I consider my ancestors literal miracles. How did you survive what you survived, and you did it with dignity and fucking laughter and bomb food?
And style.
And style
Yeah.
and beauty. How?
Mm-hmm.
It's a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, off the back of what Jane's saying, the history of it all, and yet we're still here. You know what I like? It's amazing to me. And so I love celebrating that in my work. And, you know, like my film is about, it's a coming of age story. It's set in South Central, a young queer Black girl. And yeah, she's having some family drama and all that. But at the end of the day, it's centering love and loving herself first, because she's searching for love from others that can't give it to her in the way she might want it. So it's got to start with her. But yeah, like seeing, like, I'm like, I've never seen South Central LA like in the light that I want to see it. Not at that time. I'm not talking about no crime. Like, yeah, that was there, but there was also so many amazing things that I wanted to showcase, you know, talking with my mom, getting all the stories, you know, so that's what I love, just love doing. And that's like what lights me up and gets me excited to write.
I love that. I have been stepping more too into like, I made a beautiful book. I wanted to write a beautiful thing, you know, something that was not about the struggle and the fight, because it's always that thing, as a poet too, what they expect a Black woman poet to write about. And there was a point where I was just like, no, it's not my calling. And to talk about joy and grief, I talk about the joy in the morning, a twist on the biblical mourning. Instead of mourning, I'm talking about we mourn, and there's joy in that too. This is Samantha Thornhill talked about the art of losing, that we're here to lose. And so what art, what joy, what beauty are you going to bring from it? And I love that both of these, like you all are dovetailing this like ancestral, this lineage, this history, this you will not forget us, and you will not dictate how our story is told. Insistence is really, I mean, I got goosebumps. I was like, okay, so we're in good hands. Also, what you were saying about the Frankenstein, I was like, I have absolutely watched that show where I was like, what are you doing? And so you can see when people went for the Frankenstein, because they're like, it's like, oh, writer change, I guess, or something happens. And I just love that you are both in this integrity of, these are the stories and this is how I'm willing to tell them. And then the drama and journey of this. So before we're out of time, I did promise you that I was going to ask you about your joy, and we already started. I mean, this has been so joyous. So first of all, I have smiled so big that my cheeks kind of hurt a little bit. Britt and Jen, the other program team members, are grinning and like watching your faces. They're so glad to have you here. You two were right, Britt and Jen. You were so right. These two are phenomenal, and this has been so wonderful. I've learned so much, and we're going to bring you back so that you can teach some more of our community what you know. Please know that Alum Reach Out is going to continue from here. But before we go, I want you to speak on, and Sonja, I'm gonna put you on the spot because I mentioned it to you first. How do you feed your joy? How do you keep the pleasure center, the pleasure cup full?
Absolutely. It is after, right, the end of a long day, like what Jane has been speaking to. This is an industry. And if you're working in this industry and this business to make your money and make a living, it can be taxing. And you can be like, wait, why am I doing this in the first place? Wait, what? So, like, I have made it my practice. I don't always do this, but for the most part, unplug at the end of the day. I am now done. I am done. And I'm going to do me right now. And I go for long walks outside. Like, that's a big way I find joy, like being back in nature and be like, life is more than my computer screen. Yay. Hello, tree. Listening to music. Hello, Beyonce Renaissance album. The whole
What's your jam?
album.
What's your jam?
Okay. Right now, Virgo's Groove
Of course.
is my bop, but the whole thing. Okay.
For sure. But I just, there's one where that just like, I got done with Cozy for a minute. I was like, this is the one right now. Cozy. Who puts Cozy in a song? Anyway, keep going, please.
Yes.
So
And
music,
walks, bomb food. I'm a huge foodie. Food brings me so much joy. It's also a way I connect to my ancestors. So I need to eat good. So nourishing myself and making that a priority, that I have good, nourishing food like we did at Hedgebrook. I would say those are like my, and spending time with my community. I can be a recluse sometimes because I need a lot of time within to kind of like decompress, but then recharge with my community as well is key. I would say those are the things.
Nice. That's beautiful. So a little bit of Hedgebrook, a little bit what you did at Hedgebrook. You took home, you keep it going. Lovely.
Yes.
Wonderful. Jane, what you got for us? Give us some wisdom.
Watching movies is a big one.
Really? Still?
Oh yeah. I'm watching other people's. Oh, have you seen Everything Everywhere All at Once?
Oh my God.
Listen.
I have a whole story about that movie, but wow.
Other people's magic. You know what I'm saying?
That was magic.
I watched it and was like, I don't know. I don't know how you came up with this.
That was everything.
I don't know.
Everywhere.
Every time I see a movie that makes me feel like that, it like expands my brain. I'm like, you can do whatever you want. Just do whatever you want. They did whatever they wanted. That was crazy. It was so exciting. So that really recharges me. Just getting excited about other people's work. Getting excited about what's next, even though I know that there's like all the slog involved. I have a new project coming up, and it is this chance to like completely flip the script from what I've been doing and like celebrate us. Really amazing, like fantastic and like personal to me way. And so I'm so excited about all of those negotiations finally closing so that I can get started. One of the producers on that movie has been like sending me stuff on Instagram, and so we're like, the whole time, like we're so excited. And she has really been like fighting to get this movie made, and like we're just on the same page, and it's just a celebration of Black women. And so I'm so excited to write that and to like be in that world, and then just hopefully it'll get made and just see the reaction of all of us. You know what I'm saying? Just people getting so excited, because Black women don't get to be celebrated in like this, like you are glamorous, you are beautiful, you are sexy, you are strong kind of way that often in film. And just getting the opportunity to do that is so exciting. And then the last thing I would say is, just like you, is food. Right now, Matt, the Salamander family reunion.
Hey, what? You better have a name badge.
Yes, it is in Virginia. It's like this celebration of Black chefs. And we're here for 3 days, and I'm here with my cousin. And we're just here to eat and drink and just vibe with all these fabulous Black people. You know what I'm saying?
That's amazing.
It's a whole vibe, and I just needed it, especially after this Lionsgate project. I just felt like I need to recharge and just be with us and just remind myself why I'm doing this. You know what I mean? Just like feel that. And so just, traveling with my friends and recharging and just celebrating us as much as possible really helps me to keep going.
That's beautiful. That's so beautiful. Sonja, were you going to say something? Were you going to?
Oh, no.
No, you're just leaning in. I was
Just
like,
leaning
oh,
in.
you said a whole thing. I was like, I need to get down this family reunion.
Yeah, I'm like, that sounds amazing.
Doesn't
Oh,
it though?
I'm so excited.
You two have been so generous already with so many tips, and I am sparking so many ideas in my head. Britt and Jen are going to hear about it, because I love this beautiful thing that has happened where you are. Um, I keep coming back to that pay it forward, Jane. Like you both did that just today in this time together. You shared so many helpful tips. We have people who are like wanting to ask you questions. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure to follow up and provide a space for Jane and Sonja to come and teach you what they know, if they're willing. Obviously, this is a consent heavy arrangement, but I would love let's vibe on it and see what we can build, because I think Hedgebrook did something magic here.
Yeah.
No, not magic. It did some hard work that
Yeah.
created some magical results,
I
and I
mean,
love that for
Robin
both of you.
Spikecord and Jane Anderson.
Yeah,
I mean,
name them.
I
Right.
mean,
Phenomenal.
we couldn't really do better than that. But I mean, just the entire Hedgebrook experience, not just those two, but Britt and the staff, everybody that took care of us and fed us. It was an incredible experience. You're just like, oh, like for me, it is such a worthy organization. Let me tell you, if I ever get an Oscar, I'm shouting y'all out.
Hey, that's what we like to hear. You already have it.
Without y'all, I wouldn't be up here. I'm telling you, for real.
Amazing.
It's that much of a game changer.
That's a great plug for the fact that we have open applications right now. And one of the biggest things that we've done is realigned so that we have each genre is read by people in that genre. So screenwriters are read by screenwriter alums, and it's poets are read by poets. So we are having a bigger and bigger mix within our residency program of cross-genre collaboration and people sitting at the table together and sharing work that a world that they never knew anything about, like you just did with me. So encouraging y'all to apply. It's open till September 12th, I do believe. So make sure that you like invite your friends, apply, and you all, we're going to need some guest alum judges, I'm pretty sure. So like I said, there's points of contact for sure. I want to say thank you so much, both of you, for being here, giving us your time, being so generous. And it's time for our outro. Can I get like, can you smile at me? Because y'all is just glowing and your smiles are so fabulous. Look at these amazingly beautiful, talented, spectacular, and generous spirits. I'm so pleased to have been in conversation with you. And I can't wait to work with you and then meet you in person sometime on the land. We're got to make it happen.
Would love that.
Stay on just a minute in the background because I would love to say thank you again before we go. And thank you all for joining us. I want to say thank you again to Jane and Sonja for joining me today. If you would like to revisit this conversation or share it with someone, you can find the video on Hedgebrook's YouTube channel, and the audio version will be available soon wherever you find podcasts. This series is presented free of charge for our community and is supported by donations from listeners like you. As an act of radical reciprocity, if you make a donation today, we'll enter you into a raffle for a ticket for the kickoff event of our inaugural Writers Conference in September, or $25 off your conference registration. We hope you join us for more programs. And you'll see us next month on September 15th, Thursday, September 15th at 4 p.m. Thank you all for joining us.